As you know, some time ago I made a video about the full kit from the Dahlia, which is planned to be released in the upcoming version 3.8. And if you already understand about her full kit, of course she offers a performance boost that is quite promising for the Super Break team, which currently looks quite behind. Well, it seems incomplete if we don't discuss more deeply about her kit. Will she still have a good performance for Rappa and also BOOTHILL? Is she worth taking on that version? So without further ado, I'm Hoyostation and we will thoroughly explore the full kit of the Dahlia version 3.8. Let's do this. Do you have a character or weapon in the game that you really want but you don't have enough stellar jades? Here is a smarter way to recharge your favorite games like Genshin Impact and honkaistarrail. Look no further than Lootbar. Lootbar is the most reliable top-up platform. It saves up to 23% for all orders compared with the official channel, and it provides an 80% off for your first purchase. It's 100% safe as you will only be using your UID. We will buy pack for 30,000 stellar jades for $42, which otherwise would have costed $50. Totally saving $7.5. We received the crystals we purchased in the less than 3 minutes. All recharges will be done through the official channel with miHoyo, which allows you to enjoy all top-up offers. Ready to level up your gaming experience? Check the link in the description to get the amazing discount. Okay, before we talk about whether this character is worth it or not, we will first talk about what her kit is like. The Dahlia is a character who has Fire type and Nihilistic Path. She has the same type as the majority of characters on the Super Break team. Let's call them Fuke, Firefly, and also Lingsha. So if you put the Dahlia in the Firefly team, it will be a mono fire team with an interesting Super Break kit. The Dahlia is a very important character to be able to upgrade the kit from Super Break, because she can deal Super Break damage even if the enemy doesn't have a weakness break first. Of course, this is very important for the Super Break team, because as we know, currently the biggest weakness of Super Break lies in the small damage output produced if attacking enemies who don't have a weakness break, where currently it's quite difficult to make enemies enter a state of weakness broken, because the toughness bar is very thick and continues to increase as new versions appear. In addition, the advantage of the Dahlia, which I think is quite cool, is her ultimate, guys. In addition to this ultimate that can deal damage to all enemies, this ultimate will give a special status named Wield to all enemies. This status can reduce defense by 18%, which of course will also increase the damage from Super Break. But the most interesting thing is, the Dahlia can give implant weaknesses to all enemies according to the type of dance partner. So if we use Firefly, then we will give fire weakness to all enemies, which allows us to easily complete all kinds of content without having to worry about the opponent's weakness type. In addition, one interesting thing she has is that she can be a skill point generator for the team. This is because she has a trace that can recover one additional skill point when she uses a follow-up attack 2 times. Making her kit is a solution for those of you who are still using Firefly with Idle 0, who are still wasting skill points every time Firefly attacks. Okay, now we are going to talk about Firefly. Does Firefly become good when paired with the Dahlia? Actually, to answer this question, the answer is very simple, guys. If we realize these two characters have the same type, namely Fire, make all the Super Break characters in the team have one type of the same type. In addition, the Dahlia has a special trace that can make Firefly one of the best partners on the team. The trace is called Outgrow the Old, Espouse the New, where this trace can be activated when one of the allies gives an implant weakness to the enemy. The ally will get a very high speed increase, which is 30%. Then when the ally has a fire type, then the ally will get an increase in energy. Obviously, this trace will make the Dahlia and also Firefly have a very good combination. The speed increase provided by trace will also increase the damage output of the Firefly itself. Since the higher the speed that Firefly has, the more turns she will get when she enters complete combustion. In addition, as I mentioned earlier, with the presence of the Dahlia in the team, it can certainly be a solution in providing additional skill points if your Firefly is currently still in Idle 0. Because one of Firefly's biggest weaknesses is that she is very wasteful in using skill points if she doesn't has Idle 1. Now we will move on to Rappa. As we know, Rappa is a second DPS character that is perfect for use in super break teams. The advantage of Rappa when compared to Firefly is that she can make enemies faster to enter the weakness break state. This can be seen in her skill, which can increase her weakness break efficiency by 50%, and also in her idling too, which can deal additional toughness damage to enemies affected by enhanced basic attacks. In addition, when compared to Firefly, Rappa has a wider range of attacks, namely attacks that are AoE type, while Firefly only has a blast type attack. Of course, this will be very advantageous if used in pure fiction mode, which tends to have a large number of enemies. So, will Rappa be suitable if paired with the Dahlia? Honestly, in my personal opinion, both Rappa and Firefly are a perfect match when paired with the Dahlia. But honestly, the combination between Rappa and also the Dahlia will not have the same impact as Firefly. We can see in the example of her basic attack case called Ninggu Demonbane Battle Blade, which will attack in an area and will deal toughness damage to enemies even if the enemy does not have the same weakness type. Of course, this effect becomes invalid, because as I explained before, the Dahlia can already give a weakness type to all enemies according to the type possessed by the dance partner. So from the beginning, the enemy definitely has an imaginary weakness, and Rappa can definitely provide toughness damage. In addition, traits owned by the Dahlia, who is called Outgrow the Old as opposed to the New, will certainly not be active, guys. Because as I explained before, these traits will only be active if there is an ally who gives an implant weakness to the enemy and has a fire type. Plus, even though the Dahlia is a character who has a positive SP, the addition of SP given won't have much impact on Rappa, because Rappa is a character that is included in neutral SP, meaning she doesn't need skill points much and can't provide additional skill points. This can be seen in her enhanced basic attack, which does not give any skill points at all. So even though the Dahlia can provide additional skill points for the team, the additional skill points will not have a significant impact for her. Now we will talk about BOOTHILL. As we know, BOOTHILL is also one of the units that can be paired into a super break team, although not a very common one. BOOTHILL's advantage when compared to Rappa and Firefly is that he specializes in single target attacks, which means that he will be very optimal if used in Apocalyptic Shadow. One of his signature kits lies in his talent, which can deal additional damage if he has a pocket trick shot at his disposal. The more pocket trick shots we have, the more damage we can do. To get this pocket trick shot, there are several ways, one of which is to give a weakness break status to the enemy or when defeating an enemy who is in standoff status. Well, the question is, will BOOTHILL benefit from the Dahlia? Honestly, just like Rappa, BOOTHILL can actually also be paired with the Dahlia, although the effects will not be completely optimal. The first is about the effect of implant weakness given by the Dahlia, because BOOTHILL already has his own implant weakness. The implant weakness given by the Dahlia is less than optimal, due to overlapping effects. Also like Rappa, BOOTHILL cannot take advantage of the trace effect called Outgrow the Old as opposed to the New, because even though he can implant weakness to the enemy, he is not fire type, so her trace won't be active. In addition, the increase in weakness break efficiency given through the Dahlia skill is also quite helpful, although it's not much different from the effect given by Runmei through her ultimate. Because the greater the weakness break efficiency, the greater the toughness damage given to the enemy, which of course will accelerate the enemy to experience a weakness break status. Of course, with the speed of the enemy experiencing a weakness break, it's clear that the Dahlia's talent named Who's Afraid of Constance will be active more often and will give a very massive super break damage to the enemy. Okay, now we will go back to the original question on this video. Is the Dahlia worth picking up in the upcoming version? Actually, the answer will certainly vary depending on who your DPS is playing with. If you currently have Firefly, then of course, the answer will be very worthwhile, because the Dahlia offers a lot of positives that can be a solution to the weaknesses of the current super break team. She can provide buffs while dealing quite massive damage to enemies. Even if you don't currently have Fuke, you can still pick up the Dahlia and replace Fuke with HMC to be able to give a super break damage. If you don't have this character, of course your Super Break team's performance will be quite behind, due to the many weaknesses that the Super Break team has that still cannot be solved until now. But just like Firefly, if you have a Rappa, the Dahlia is a character I highly recommend taking. Although not all of the Dahlia's kits can be used properly, it's clear that the Dahlia's presence in the Rappa team will provide more benefits than when you using Runmei. But unlike Firefly who can still use HMC, Rappa really needs Fugue to be able to optimize her kit properly. So if you don't currently have Fugue, I would highly recommend picking up Fugue first, which will probably also be released in future version. And what about BOOTHILL? As I mentioned earlier, BOOTHILL actually benefited quite well from the presence of the Dahlia in the team, although it did not get a very significant effect. Some of the Dahlia's kits are very useful for BOOTHILL, such as her Trace, which will give him a 30% increase in speed, which will certainly give BOOTHILL a quick turn. However, it's the same with Rappa. Actually, I recommend picking up Fugue first if you don't currently have one, because Fugue can give extra toughness bar to enemies, which means that their talent effects will be triggered faster. Okay guys, maybe that's all for now. What do you think about the Dahlia? Please leave any comments down below and don't forget to check out my other videos because they are no less cool. Thanks for watching, stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video.